It's exciting. I mean, both you and I have seen this matchup of these two players. Not necessarily these two decks, but these two players know each other very well. I think we'll be seeing some fast play. We're going to be seeing some high-level play, and boy, our bragging rights on the line here. I mean, there's winning nationals, and then there's winning on camera. There'll be a lot of bragging rights to the winner of this one.
Absolutely, and I think we know the international audience and the locals here in New Zealand are going to be super hyped for this. I can say I was in the room when the featured match got announced. We had the classic ooh, because everyone knows. I do recall one fun story from when I very first started playing my first tournament in Palmerston North the night before. Cayle and Matt were playing each other in a Bravo matchup, and I will say there was a lot of friendly trash talk going on in that game. So
I believe there was a fair amount of absolute being drunk as well. But that is not what's happening today. Of course, we have got the Guardian v Guardian, old school versus new school, Oldhim versus Bravo. Really interesting. I've been playing side events today, so I haven't been seeing a lot of what's been happening with Matt. Interesting to see the sledge being played as his weapon. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this matchup.
Yeah, so and I believe a little bit of trivia for the audience here. I believe both these players' losses have been going against Prism. So the one undefeated player at the moment is Nick Holding playing Prism, who's 7-0, who managed to take down Cayle last round. I'm just having a quick look at the equipment here. It all looks fairly standard, but one thing I'm quite excited to see is the Snapdragon Scalers on the side of Oldhim for Matt. Now, I believe, I've just seen him play a couple of games here and there today. I believe he is running Enlightened Strike, and that's kind of like that classic combo, isn't it, for tempo?
Yeah, I would imagine that is definitely the card he'll look to play that on. And yeah, can't wait. We saw in the last match that Cayle using those Mage Master boots to a good effect to get that go again turn off the tome.
Yeah, and that's a great sort of, I feel like their boots are kind of the tempo maker for both these players in a way. So, they've got relatively standard equipment. We see, the sledge come down, a channel like Frigid turn one.
Turn one.
And this is interesting. I've seen this a couple of times for Matt. I know way back in round one as well.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to play without an Arsenal card, which is, you might be thinking, this is really, like, you really want the Arsenal card in order to get that Crown of Seeds efficiency, but he's not afraid to get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, and the Crown of Seeds probably not as big a deal in this matchup as it would be in like a Briar matchup with the go wide. So probably, as you said, Matt's a very savvy player, and so he would have he would have been very calculated with that.
Yeah, and both these players are very technically skilled. As we've said, Cayle's been playing Bravo since day one. And we see an interesting pitch here, pitching two staunch responses.
Staunch. That is going to be a very interesting hand coming back. And in this matchup, we will see those. We will see those cards later. But
yeah, these are huge. So I think it's a little bit of smart pitching here. They know they're in for a bit of a long game, so it's not too fussed about coming in for 6 with the Anathos there.
Yeah, be interesting to see. Doesn't look like Matt has been able to save the channel here.
Yeah, I feel the channel was nice to have down on turn one, but I feel it's not super critical, like you mentioned, for something like a Briar matchup or something like Chain. So we just see the sledge come back in for 6, and I think we might see a bit of this, them just sort of, probing the defenses a little bit, seeing what's happening, seeing if they can strip cards from other players' hands. I mean, again, we see a Anathos coming for 4, and those defense reactions really being saved for the late game.
Oh, a little bit of a flex there. That is the
traditional Chinese language scene.
Yeah, that not many people are this side of the pond have that card. So Matt obviously. He gets around. He has his connections all around the world.
Yep, and just we see a big play here. The Okanold coming down with a fuse with a pulse of Isenloft. Now, one interesting thing is we have seen Cayle pitch multiple defense reactions, so this might be an opportunity for Matt to get a bit of hold that thought.
Wow, so that means he had 3 staunches in his last hand.
I guess that explains pitching them away, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's definitely why he would have pitched them. Wow.
Oh, and he's got the pummel coming down from Arsenal.
That is big.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what happened with the emboldened.
I think it was that the the card that he's looking to discard off the pummel, maybe.
So I'm just trying to check if there's maybe perhaps.
Yeah, I think that it was just the card that he had to discard.
Oh, discard the pummel.
For pummel, yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. And like we say, one thing I mentioned before, but I'm interested to see is the use of the boots here.
Oh, well, you might see it here. That you may see Snapdragons here.
Possibly. I wonder if it may be a little early, but he might be thinking, look, I've only got 3 lightning strikes, maybe some hidden tech I'm not aware of. He may just look to crack it to grab a bit of tempo, but I wonder if he might save it for the mid game. No, here we go.
It is. You get it while the going's good. I think this is a good plan. Having seen those 3 staunches, he's figured this is a good way to put some tempo. Again, we see Cayle having to block with his whole hand and just pass and draw up. So that's not a bad move by Matt. He's trying to hold on to that tempo, which is very important in a Guardian matchup.
Absolutely, and I think it was really efficient use of resources there. He had the Tunic on 3 counters, able to pitch 1 blue for the sledge. And here we see Matt just really wanting to keep the pressure alive. So he knows he's identified, he's cracked the Snapdragon scalers on the Enlightened Strike, he's got Cayle on the back foot, and he just wants to keep things going.
Oh, there's another staunch.
Okay, so the staunch has gone early.
Yeah.
So now
that's 2 in the bin, 2 on the bottom of the deck. So
now, yeah, we will, I feel, see a fair few hammer swings this game.
I think so.
But I do feel at a very, very long game, it can, I believe, maybe get a little bit tough for Bravo just because of the ability of Oldhim to use the Earth Reacts.
Look at this, just Matt continuing to put on the pressure here. Another 2 cards out of Cayle's hand.
Okay, and so Cayle's actually leaking a little bit of damage here early, but this is coming at the expense of some power cards from Matt's deck.
Yeah. I think Cayle's plan is to, just try and let Matt swing himself out.
Okay, and a bit unfortunate there. I believe that Blessing of Deliverance may have hit a red sink below, so he's not able to follow up with a hammer swing.
Yeah.
So Cayle will be, a little bit unhappy about that one.
Yeah, Cayle, he's had a real block of defense reactions. This has really sort of slowed down the tempo. Oh, this is going to be another go again turn.
This is big. So the Rousey Ancient is coming here for 7. He can follow that up with an Enlightened Strike for 7 as well.
Yeah, this is... Matt really is putting the gas on here and just showing that Oldham's not all about just block, pitch, swim with a hammer, but he can definitely put some money in. Oh, there's another staunch. This is kind of what we saw in the last matchup for Cayle as well, is that he had a lot of defense reactions early, and then just he ran out of stuff to block with at the end of that last match, and it's going to be interesting to see how it works out in this match. Because again, as you said, Matt has been throwing a lot of threats. There's been a lot of big damage cards. So
yeah, it is interesting. So we can see Cayle has played out a number of attack reactions here. Matt's really been the aggressor this game, and here we see a Zealous Belting, which is quite a cool tech card because you have a lot of cards with high power, even blue ones. So he's pitching in Oakenold here. So that's going to come in, and we may see a follow-up sledge for 6, I imagine.
Yeah.
I do know one thing to keep an eye on is that Cayle does have a lot of life gain with his Blessing of Deliverance.
He does. Sledge, there we are.
Now, I imagine both of these players have practiced this matchup quite a lot, so they're both very experienced.
Yeah. And it is a good point. Matt's pitching there is definitely setting up for later in the game.
And one thing to note here is, of course, with no ramparts, so with no shield for Oldhim, the Crown of Seeds becomes just a little bit less efficient, but the thing is that card is such incredible value over the course of a very long game, because if you're using 0 cards to prevent 1 damage, that stacks up a lot in these kind of matches.
Yeah, and it does help you set up that end game as well, like because it's information that your opponent doesn't know, because setting up your end game from pitching, your opponent can follow what you're doing, whereas with Crown of Seeds means that there's hidden information there, so they don't know exactly what's coming up.
We see another Zealous Belting followed up by a sledge for 6, so we can really see Matt's game plan start to develop of having a number of big attacks and potential go-again attacks, things like Enlightened Strike, things like Zealous Belting, for example.
Yeah.
And I think Cayle so far seems pretty okay with just like defending and coming back with the hammer.
Yeah, I mean we're quite a way into this game, and we're still in the 30s in life. That is like there's a lot of meat being flung at the wall, and not a lot of it sticking. A lot of this classic come out swinging.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out here is these players are playing at a very rapid pace. Like they know their decks inside out. They know the matchup very well.
They also know each other. They know how each other plays.
Nothing. Second Oakenold.
Yeah,
okay.
And that is a great double fused Oakenold.
Now I have to say I am curious to see how this one plays out, because as we've mentioned a few times now, Matt is going through his red line attacks very quickly here. Now Cayle on the other side has used quite a lot of his defense reactions, and we may see the equipment blocks come out here. A good use of the Arcanite Skulk out with on lower life.
Yeah. And it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not there is a point where Cayle can switch and try and get the tempo back and start swinging back himself.
One cool thing I want to point out there, I believe he may have used the Crown of Seeds in the reaction step there to see if he could maybe pull a pummel off the top, which would be quite nice.
Yeah, and I believe it was a staunch response that was in the arsenal there. So again, putting that to the bottom for later in the game.
Okay, so now we see the Anathos coming for 6. Cayle actually has one card in hand, one in arsenal. So we'll see if
another flex from Matt, a second one of those Chinese language fate for scenes.
And he does have the pummel here to. Okay, so.
It just completely covers it up with the sink. That's great.
Okay, so it's interesting. So Matt's gone through a number of these fate for scenes and sinks now. So both players sort of tearing through the defense reactions pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And we'll see if Cayle's comfortable taking a couple of damage here.
Yeah.
Looks like he is. I think Cayle won't be overly upset that he got to trade a pummel, just vanilla damage for a sink below there.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Something coming. So here it is. It's
Dominator Crippling Crush.
Oh yeah, and you see Matt has got at least it looks like an E-Striker channel.
I'm not sure. I don't think that's a defense react in arsenal.
Or it's a tear asunder in his hand as well, by the looks of it.
I couldn't quite catch the arsenal there. I don't think it was a defense reaction.
No, because I believe he seized away his defense reaction last turn.
So Cayle's really seizing his moment here, I feel a little bit. Cayle's kind of decided, I'm sick of being on the defense.
Yeah.
You know what the best defense is? A good offense. So let's see what I can pull off here.
Yeah.
Now, with the Crown of Seeds, that is able to prevent 1 damage, and the Oldhim Earth React can be 2. But even that, plus a card from hand, is only going to be 7. So he really needs something like either a defense react in arsenal, which unless I can't see it's not there, or to pull something off the top with seeds.
Yeah.
One thing to note as well, we haven't seen any Command and Conquers from Cayle yet. I'm not too sure if he's playing with them, but they are less effective against Oldhim because of the Crown of Seeds being able to remove that trigger.
And I wouldn't be surprised if even if Cayle had them in his list, that he sided them out for this matchup.
Okay, so apparently someone in chat reckons it's a CNC and Arsenal. So Cayle is going to be pretty happy there, being able to even up the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just sometimes a dice roll to choose what to discard, or what to keep.
Channel, and I think it was the Terra Sunder that went as well.
I believe so.
Cayle's not going to be unhappy to get rid of those 3 cards.
Okay, so Matt just having to pass the turn here. We'll see what Cayle's got lined up. So we've got the... Okay, so it dominated... Oh no, sorry, just a normal disable.
Yeah.
And he is floating resources there, so he is able to bluff the pummel in this situation.
Yeah. And also, Cayle loves this play of the non-dominated attack here, because he really actually wants to get cards out of his opponent's hand.
Yeah,
and there's the pummel. I'm sure, and you know that Cayle told Matt that he had it before he played it.
It's one of I've played Cayle a number of times, Classic Constructed, and he always tells you, I've got it. Does he have it? Yeah. Who knows, but he does this time. Again, the Crown of Seeds can sort of mitigate the disable effect of putting that card on the bottom, although it doesn't sort of matter. I mean, it lets him draw a card, doesn't matter that much, yeah.
Yeah, and this has been 2 really good turns for Cayle to even up the life scores, sort of steal back the tempo. It's going to force probably a discard out of Matt's hand.
Yeah, and these things, the difference between things like, Oakenold and Crippling Crush is Oakenold, those cards go on the bottom. Crippling Crush, they go in the bin.
Yeah.
So
Oh wow, and that is is that a second Terrace Under, or was that the one? Was that perhaps the one that we saw last hand?
I'm not sure. I didn't quite catch that one. So we see.
That's big. If he's lost 2 Terrace Unders in 2 turns, that's big.
Okay, and I see someone in chat is saying we've got some pretty good bravos in Greece. Shout out to Greece. I know that we've got a really passionate, amazing community over there, so thank you for tuning in today. Okay, and here's the tempo turn from Cayle, the Mage Master boots, and he's off to the library with the Tome of Findale. So he's going to gain a bit of life here, and I am quite keen to see what he does with this turn. Now, I'm not sure, was that from, I think it was from Arsenal, but I can't see him having gained a life.
I think is it because Matt's deciding if he's going to react?
They may just be updating it in a second, but we'll see what happens here.
Possibly.
Okay, so we see a Dominated Spinal Crush come in. Unfortunately, I did look away for just a second, so that tome may have been from hand even potentially.
Possibly.
Because that would be a very uncharacteristic mistake from Cayle to miss life gain there. Okay, so what's really interesting to me here, Ian, is that we can see Cayle's pulled off to a bit of a life lead here. He's got he's 7 life up, and Matt content to just come in with the hammer. But I feel players as good as Matt Rogers and Cayle McCreath, they've got a game plan. So I don't think he's panicking here.
Yeah, and at this level, you use your life as another resource. Taking some damage to come back, set up for a turn or two down the line. That is not unusual for Guardian players. Here we go. Oh, is that a mangle? Love the artwork on that card.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. And that's coming in again. He's
dominated.
So that's dominated.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Crater Fist is at risk here. Again, the block plus Oldhim Earth React will get around that. I can see the Auto Touch in hand here, so we'll see.
But I mean, Cayle's not going to be unhappy with that. It forces cards out of his hand. It just means that the swing back's not going to be as much.
Okay, so he's pretty comfortable. So I believe that's a Staunch Response in hand.
Yeah, Karana Seeds, Staunch Response.
And I think that was a red, so that'll do it, the full defense for 8.
Yeah.
And I can see a few viewers asking about why no sort of Winter's Wail plus the shield.
Yeah.
And I think the Sledge of Advalheim, you kind of just need it to keep up a little bit.
Yeah. It's just the output of damage that it threatens. And especially there's a lot of go again in Matt's list with the Zealous Beldings, the Rows, the E-Strikes we've already seen. So being able to attack and then come in with a 6 attack at the back of it is super power forward.
Yeah.
is what I like to call it.
One thing to note here is we can see Matt's on those 3 counters with Tunic. I feel Tunic is extremely relevant in this matchup because you can activate the Crown for free, or you can pitch 1 blue card and come in with that Sledge for 6.
Yeah.
Now he's kept 3 cards in hand, so we're going to see. And I really like this play because it's just, you don't need to dominate it because sometimes it's just about stripping cards.
Absolutely. And Cayle will appreciate that. He makes these sort of plays all the time. It's about it's not always about the damage it gets through. Like actually getting the cards out of the hand can be more devastating at certain points of the game.
Yeah, and we see. I just wanted to point out again that, this might be a matchup that players look at and be like, this one will never finish in time, it'll take forever. And, maybe if it was me playing, people say I'm a little bit slow at times, it takes a very long time. But when you've got two of the best players in the world playing this matchup, it goes by very, very quickly. Yeah. Look at that graveyard. There must be 20, 30 cards in there already.
Yeah. And both of these players have really put in the reps with these decks. I know. I think there's a little bit of a surprise that Matt showed up with Oldhim here today, but you just know the way that Matt tests the game with his testing team that they would have logged the hours with this deck, and it shows. It shows that both these players know exactly what the deck's trying to do.
Interesting play here, Cayle pitching the Staunch Response to come with Anathos, a card in hand and a card in arsenal. So we might wonder if something's up here. Is he representing a pummel, maybe a sigil, something along those lines? Because it's not super efficient, but we'll see. I feel these guys, and like we say, it's a very, very close game.
Yeah. Oh, and there's the third flex of that
Fate for scene.
Fate for scene.
Okay, and it will be interesting to see as well, I think.
Oh, it was Remembrance.
We might start to see players coming around to the initial pitch stacks fairly quickly here.
Yeah.
Particularly Crown of Seeds is very good for just burning through your deck quickly to get back to things you set up.
Though this is interesting, the Remembrance changes up the pitch stack.
It does, that's a really good point.
And so, you know, we knew that he had those like two staunches that were stuck together. This is hopefully gonna even those out maybe.
And I just want to comment, interesting choice they're choosing to take the 2 Blessing of Deliverance and the Crippling Crush.
Yep.
I feel he's really putting a premium on that life gain this game.
Oh, absolutely. As someone who has played numerous games against Cayle, he loves that life gain.
So here's a big attack. I really like this play. It's a bit of a pocket play coming in with the Terra Sunder plus a Sledge of Oldhim. So that's coming in for 7 with Dominate.
Yeah,
And
good.
the on-hit discard effect actually affects the weapon as well.
Yeah.
So Cayle is definitely okay. So he just has to...
He just has to take it. Oof. It uses a disable on, was that a rouse maybe? Hard to tell, we got to put down quickly.
So we might start to see, I mean, this game has been a roller coaster and it's been so quick. I feel like it's been a roller coaster, but I'm going for like 3 times around. But so Cayle coming back in for 4, but it looks like Matt has actually kind of, you know, wrenched the tempo back from him.
Yeah, it really has. But again, that was the last Terra Sunder for Matt because we saw that he had to get rid of them the other 2 early. But you know, when you're coming in hot, you're coming in hot. Spinal Crush.
Yeah, and I believe as one of our viewers has pointed out, and I do agree, Oldhim has gone through a large number of the red line attacks. I believe that might be the 3rd Spinal Crush as well, potentially.
I believe so, yeah.
And see, we see Cayle here just very willing to take damage. So he's not too afraid of leaking damage.
There we are. And that's the second Terra Sunder in the pitch zone in 2 turns.
Okay, a little unfortunate there for Cayle that he didn't get the second 3-cost or more for the Anathos, but it still was coming in for 4. He got the blue, he got the Seismic Surge token down. Okay, and I think I saw Matt laughing a bit there. I feel like these guys are probably having some good talk back and forth, I feel.
Yeah. Trust me, this is not going to be a quiet game. Like these two know each other so well and are happy to give each other stick and you know, probably appraise the card selection in each other's deck while the game's going on.
There could be a robust exchange of ideas, one might say. But
right.
It's all in good fun. These players know each other very well.
Slightly disappointing, maybe even an unfoil sync below after all those fate scenes. It's just downright boring, Matt.
So then we see Matt does have access to the Enlightened Strike in hand, but you know maybe he wants to save that for the late game and just come in with the hammer.
That's the last one, right? Because we saw one with the Snapdragon, we saw him having to discard one earlier. So that is the last E-Strike in the deck.
Okay, so we see the Crown of Seeds come up. So there's 2 resources available. Very cool, because now you get the E-Strike go again, of course, and then you've still got the resources up to come with the hammer for 6. So just constant pressure.
Yeah, blocking with the rounds and then body coming in for 6. Yeah, this is just that constant pressure. One floating.
So we still have, we still got the Skull Cap up for 1 with Cayle, but he may be looking to save that.
Yeah, he's really wanting to hit 3 life off this Blessings.
So he hits 2, I believe? Or is that 1? Oh no. And that is very, very painful.
And this is kind of what happened at the end of that Prism game last round as well.
Yeah, I mean, that when every single life matters, you know, in every game of Flesh and Blood, but for these ones where it become a bit of a grind out, even more so at times. So I see Matt has a Channel Lake Frigid in hand, but he might just want to come in with one of those with the Sledge or a blue line attack.
Yeah. Yep, just coming in with that Sledge.
A bit difficult again for Cayle there because I feel he is relying on those Blessings to give him a bit more flexibility. But again, he's just not afraid to take damage here.
No. Well, I think Cayle knows that it's really the final throws now. He took that damage so he could dominate Crippling Crush. Okay, he is looking to steal the tempo back.
Unfortunately for him, Matt does have the Staunch Response in hand, so that's really going to shut down this plan a little bit here. In fairness, he probably knew it was coming, the pitch stack, because he had he's gone through his deck a few times now.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a bit of a tough blow for Cayle.
Yeah, I think Cayle was hoping to get a better result from that.
And then we got the Tunic on 3 counters, so that Sledge is just coming in again for 6.
And having to throw 6 in front of it, and now Cayle's really fighting with 2-card hands now. Oh, blessings. Seismic. Oh, he doesn't even get to swing the hammer.
Yeah, no, he's going to hope that's a defense react in Arsenal. Like you mentioned, so Cayle isn't sure of his pitch stack because the remembrance has changed a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to see another Rouse plus Sledge turn. So that's really been the pattern of Matt's game here, hasn't it? Just come in for the big go again attack and come with the Sledge.
Absolutely. It doesn't always have to be about blocking with Guardian. And Matt's really showing a way more aggressive Oldhim here.
Okay, and we'll see what Cayle's plan is here. And one thing to note is that Matt has had an Oakenhold in Arsenal for a very long time here. Oh, and he's got out the Staunch response. Oof. And that might be the signal he was waiting for.
Yeah. You see Cayle sort of stuck with that remembrance in hand.
Oh no, and again, wow, one life.
That is...
Things are just...
excuse the pun, but that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Oh no, and this could be very, very dangerous here because Matt knows the top 3 cards of his deck. He knows there's no defense reaction there.
Yeah. And one of those cards doesn't defend at all.
Now, I'm just trying to observe his hand here. I don't think he has the Oakenhold Fuse coming up.
No, he doesn't. He's got...
So Cayle's getting a bit of a lifeline, I think.
Yeah. Whew. But this is tough. I mean... Matt has a lot of information going into this hand.
Now, one thing is that Heart of Fyndale is going to do a bit of work, and I do wonder if that's a bit of Cayle's plan for the late game. You know, I've played against Matt a couple of times here and there, and that Heart of Fyndale, once you get to the late game, it comes back more and more often. Yeah. Okay, so he's very happy just to come with the Oakenhold here. Yeah. It's tough for Matt. It's tough for Cayle because he does have to play around Pummel a little bit.
Yeah. And also, one of the cards, and Matt knows that at least one of the cards in his hand doesn't block.
Yeah, and he knows one of them blocks for 2 as well.
Exactly. This is a perfect time to come in with this unfused.
Okay, so...
And Craterfish goes in as well.
So this is he's defending for 6 here, so currently just taking 1, which is... So, I mean, I kind of like this because he knows I'm not dead on board to Red Pummel.
Yeah.
And I like Matt here, you know, I'm not quite sure if he has it or not in his hand, but he's going through and counting up the fence reacts. Yeah. You know, he's going to put the Theer into him.
Yeah.
So he does have the remembrance in hand, which can he just efficient... Oh, he does have the Pummel. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Staunch. Gets that 1 life back.
My heart is racing. Like, now we're playing some flesh and blood. This is as good as it gets.
Yeah.
And Cayle, I think that was...
Again, though...
That could be a big tempo shift here.
Could be, but, I mean, he still just has to come through again. Another double swing turn. Zealous Belding, Hammer. And there goes... I think that's two Terra Sunders he lost.
And Cayle's down to
exchange.
about... I think he's only got about 4 cards left in deck now.
Yeah, that's... Matt's just done a great job at really using that Sledge to the advantage. And again, a lot of people, we've seen in the chat, a lot of people were surprised to see that Sledge, but really we've seen it put in a lot of work in this game. Oh, just another big Glacial Footsteps.
So that's coming infused for 9. Now we're going to see that he's only going to take 1 here.
All right. But again, you know, committing 3 cards to do that block.
But he only used 1 at least, which is very important here.
Exactly.
Now the issue is Matt just has so many cards left in his deck here.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, Cayle is so far down. Like Matt could even just count his seeds here and just almost take this and have a full grip.
How are we on time? We've got plenty of time left.
Plenty of time. These 2 players have been at a cracking pace. It's been a clinic to watch of just how you can play high level flesh and blood at a cracking pace, even if it is a Guardian mirror.
Yeah, but I fear for Cayle. If we've got Cayle fans in the audience, things are starting to look a little bit grim. Because, you know, he is going to start cycling back those hearts now. So he's going to go to 1. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And he's able to gain life from the heart, but I think Cayle's just putting a bigger...
It's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
Like, gaining 1 back to just off the sides, Mick. And yeah, it's Matt can just wait this out now. Matt, it's almost like a cat toying with his prey. Yeah, like Matt wants to finish him off next turn, or he can just wait for the inevitable fatigue to happen.
Yeah, I'm really struggling to see a way back for him here.
Pummel used on the club here just to try and get some damage through. I mean, again, Matt's not going to be overly upset about this. He's not going to lose a card because it is off the hammer.
And he got the staunch response for it anyway.
Staunch and from remembrance, we'll see blessings? Because I mean, the problem is with the heart still in there. There's some misses if he puts the blessings back, but so is that 2 Terra Sunders and a blessing?
Okay, I mean, I kind of like getting the Terra Sunders back here.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned though for Cayle, even with those, he's still sitting at about, I believe, somewhere around 8 or so cards in deck, and. Like, we've got people in the chat watching with their eagle eyes as well, pointing out that there's still Glacial Footsteps. Just an incredibly good card. It's so versatile. It's amazing in blue and yellow as resource cards, and they can come in and strip cards. They can come and dominate to finish off the game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. Has the final days for Bravo here. Just the sledge from Matt gets 2 cards out of Cayle's hand.
And I think, Cayle was a little bit unfortunate missing a couple of attacks here and there with the hammer for 6, but
I don't think kind of the problem now that, like, being forced to block with 2 hands, those Terra Sunders are going to be very hard to play because they cost 3, so you need to have something to pay for that and also something to pay for the hammer, which is going to be tough. And
the Frost React here, very clean play. It's just so difficult because you're stripping 2 cards. It's like it's an Oldhim Kadachi lock. You're coming in for 6 every turn. That's 2 cards.
Yeah, and Matt's gonna know that the heart's probably in his hand now with so few cards left in the deck. Yeah, again, just.
I have to say, I'm very impressed because, like we said, he's using all the red line attacks, but I think the plan was strip all the good cards with the red line attacks, and hey, then I'm just coming in with a sledge late game.
Yeah, and it's putting in work.
And I believe that's a Glacial Footsteps in hand that can be fused next turn. So, oh no, this may be.
Yeah, Matt.
This may be the end of the road.
Taking a life there, but yeah. And here we go. Oh. Cranial crush, just to rub it in a little bit.
So now he's down to 2 cards left in deck, and it's over. Yeah. He cannot defend against the sledge next turn. Matt just making absolutely sure what was going on here. And with full respect to both the players because they're amazing, I have to say this one didn't look particularly close in the end. And there's the handshake.
They're
having a bit of a fun with each other. I think they're both laughing.
As we said, bragging rights will definitely be earned here, and this will be talked about at the after party for sure.
I'm sure now he's probably pointing out, like, you had all these attacks. So it was one thing it did line up for Matt pretty well for a large number of red attacks early, but in fairness, the deck is built that way, isn't it? Like, you improve your luck by playing good cards.
That's right. That's right. Some people say it's luck, but yeah, that deck is well tuned. It is an aggressive Oldhim, which is different than a lot that's been played in other national season. And Matt knew this, and Matt would know that this match was going to happen at some time in nationals. There's a lot of respect for between these 2 players, and they knew they were going to run into each other at some point over the weekend, and it just in the end, Matt had a slightly better game plan, and sometimes the cards fall your way. Sometimes it's just how it is on the day. Another day, Cayle may have taken this, but today Matt gets it. He goes to 7-1.
7-1. I can just see. I think.